So I just had this client interaction, and it was very heartfelt and kind of heartbreaking too. And I have this happen a lot, when I first visit with people that are completely outside of our realm. Some of the people that reach out to us have some kind of a background understanding about one of the popular kind of fad methodologies, like paleo or low carb or keto or something like that, and some people don't. And so I got this call from a doctor's office, and the doctor's office wanted to send me a referral. I had to make sure they understood that I don't take insurance. We're not registered dietitians, and we're self-pay because we're considered holistic and alternative, and they were totally fine with that because they felt like this person would really benefit from it. So they gave me his phone number and an email, and I reached out to him, and he was a great guy. Set up a little talk just to sit out here and do a little meet and greet, and him and his wife were here, and we just sat down and kind of BS for a little bit. And evidently he had just come off of some chemotherapy and some immune suppressing drugs. He has pretty significant digestive issues, takes Imodium most days, and just really doesn't feel very good. And I'm not sure completely understood how important and beneficial the whole nutrition aspect of it was until we got into talking about it. And I asked him what his biggest goals were. Like, why would you want to try to embark on figuring out the nutrition aspect? And he was like, well, I just want to feel better. Like, I want to have some confidence in what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. I know that this is a part of my recovery and healing and my future resilience against other things, but I'm just not sure, So first question I asked him was, well, what do you eat right now? What do you try to do? Do you believe in anything, or do you follow anything? And they basically, or at least he did, does, first thing in the morning, some whole wheat toast with some jelly and a big bowl of oatmeal and usually some fruit. And that's the first part of his day. Oh yeah, and also, if I'm not mistaken, he was diagnosed as pre-diabetic. So, and then for lunch, he would have usually, and sometimes with that, he would have some rice bran cereal or something. And then for lunch, usually like a Subway sandwich or some kind of a sandwich from a sandwich place, ideally whole wheat. And in the evening, they'd usually try to do some fish, like some tilapia or something. And they're trying to do more chicken and fish. And then I asked, well, what is it that your doctor recommended? And so there wasn't a whole lot of discussion around nutrition. He did mention that if this person got his gallbladder out, that he would be able to enjoy as much fried food as he want to, which kind of blew my mind. So then, we're sitting here talking, and I'm like, I asked his wife, I asked both of them, I said, do you remember what your grandparents ate? Do you remember how they ate? And, the wife was very clear. She was like, yeah, absolutely. They ate way better than we do. And I was like, well, what do they eat? And she said, well, most of it was fresh food, a lot of stuff from the garden, and they ate a lot of eggs from chickens, and when they could, they would eat meat. And it's very different from what they're doing right now, So, I talked about my grandparents. My grandfather was a cattle rancher and had a garden, and I mean, my grandparents were so healthy. I remember them going through the transition of trying to swap out butter for margarine because that's just what was being taught at the time. But I mean, before that, they were extremely healthy, and they didn't know any other way. It wasn't like they were trying to be healthy. They were just eating real food that they had access to, And so then we had this discussion around, we have an evolutionary past as human beings, and there's something that facilitated us becoming who we are today. And if you look at archaeology and anthropology, it's very clear what humans ate for the past however long you want to go back. Some people, 300,000 years, maybe back to the human genus, starting like 2.5 million years is when we started to have this really dramatic increase in brain size and reduction in our digestive system. But anyway, we talked about how it's really clear what humans ate before modernization. What did they eat? They were hunter-gatherers. They ate meat, and they ate the fats associated with the meat, and they ate some plant matter depending on where they were and what was available. But that was pretty much all they ate. That's all they had access to. Seasonal fruit, some starchy things if they had to. And That's very different. What we are meant to eat and what we evolved to eat is very different from what we are told to eat. And it's very obvious that this couple is trying to do the right thing with their whole wheat toast and their rice bran cereal and their bowl of oatmeal. But our ancestors never ate like that, you know? And if we're having problems with carbohydrates and we're having problems with our digestive system, then it's just really useful to understand that most of that is carbohydrate based. Most of that is grain based, which means that that is going to mess with our digestive system more than anything else out there. Well, ultra processed foods probably a little bit worse than grains, but it was just a very fascinating discussion, and it all made sense to him. But nobody has ever talked to him about this in this way. Why? Because everything that we hear from public sources, no matter where it is, infomercials, magazines, like the majority of it is the conventional wisdom view on what we need to do to be healthy, which is what? Whole grains, low fat, avoiding meat because meat causes cancer and cholesterol problems and heart issues. And the truth is something completely different. And, it was like a breath of fresh air for this couple. It really was. And it was exciting, because it's like, wow, this is very different from what we expected. I can only imagine, because I asked them, like, what would you think what would you expect to hear from someone like myself if you came and sat down? And almost every time, like, people are assuming that it's going to be, yeah, I know I need to eat every 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, I know I need to have more whole grains and less fat. And it's like, that is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Even if you make that work, it is not sustainable. Versus eating a nutrient-dense, calorically dense way of eating that gives the body what it needs and helps you learn how to be metabolically flexible and weans you off of carbohydrates as a dependency, as an energy source. So anyway, I don't know if that's useful or not. I thought it was great. I also, outlining my process, I think I haven't really done that very well in the past, because a lot of people, I've gotten messages before. And a big shout out to Chelsea Lowenstein for just clarifying. Sometimes people don't know what it is that I do. I know most people know, yeah, I'm nutritional therapy and I do talks and stuff. But when I work with people, this is how it works, all right? Usually people find me, through either word of mouth, social media, web search. If you search locally for Las Vegas nutritionist, holistic nutritionist, paleo nutrition, keto nutrition, something like that, you'll definitely find me as one of the top ranked there. Or working with specific disorders like digestive issues and autoimmune conditions and cardiovascular and obesity and stuff like that. But when I'm contacted by somebody, the first thing that I do is have a phone conversation and try to encourage them to come in for a free little meet and greet, because I want people to get a feel for me before ever committing to work with me. I don't charge for that first meeting because I just want us to have a little meet and greet, get a face-to-face. And before coming in for that, I usually try to get them to answer a nutritional assessment questionnaire that is a symptom-based questionnaire that gives us a lot of great detailed information about your digestive system, your upper GI, your small intestine, your large intestine, your liver, your gallbladder, your hormones, your male systems, your female systems, thyroid, mineral balance, fatty acid balance, and vitamin balance. And so with that information, we can sit down and say, hey, look, this is where you're at as far as your dysfunctions and your different systems. And we can make some very specific recommendations based on that. We can also make supplement recommendations if they're necessary. But anyway, we come in before ever charging a penny, and we have such a great little assessment and great information to work off of. And then we just talk about, what it would take to get us to this point to where we felt very confident about what it is that we're doing with real food. And this is just the nutrition piece, by the way. If someone contacts me for meditation or something, it's a little bit different. So then we map out a plan. I usually recommend a minimum of a 3-session package, but ideally we're doing 6 sessions at least. We meet, and most of our meetings are education based, and then we sprinkle in a little bit of customized bio-individuality based on the symptoms and based on what we know we need to work with. So if someone has significant digestive issues, we got supplement protocol, we got eating habits that we talk about, we got specific foods that we talk about, cooking specific foods. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So, sometimes people think that the SHT is a one size fits all methodology. Well, the one size fits all part of that is really just the general guidelines and the side rails, like processed food or not eating processed food and things to avoid, and our definition of real food, and some basic guidelines on structuring your daily macros. But within that, there's a lot of bio-individuality, and that's where the power of these private sessions come from, is just this capacity to sit and fine-tune and tweak and really coach you through the process. And so anyway, most of our meetings will last about 45 minutes of education. Then we have some discussion, because I want you to understand what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it, so that you internalize it. Because my goal is for you to be self-reliant. Like, I kind of put myself out of business with you. I have clients that I work with, and if they do everything that I ask them to do, then I've never had someone that didn't see success. And if they do it right, then at the end of our sessions, then it's almost like they don't need me for the nutrition piece much anymore, although they kind of do, because it's useful. There's so much more to learn, but the basics they have down, So anyway, there's education, there's a little bit of discussion, customization based on their bio-individuality, and then we meet once every 2 weeks for the series of those 3 to 6 sessions or longer. Because 2 weeks in between is plenty of time for you to implement the goals that we talk about at our meeting. And then every meeting, every 2 weeks, we just go into a little bit more detail. We fine-tune things a little bit. We come up with some new goals. And so by the end of that 10 to 12 weeks that we work together, you know everything that you need to know about food. You know everything that you need to know about yourself and how you respond to food. And how to experiment going forward. And we also talk about all the popular fad methodologies, to include Weston A. Price. I call them fad as if it's a bad thing, but they're all great starting places for a lot of people. So, but anyway, we talk about Weston A. Price, paleo, low-carb, keto, vegan, carnivore, primal, and those are the main ones, because I want people to understand why those work, and I don't want people to get sucked into another something that's a temporary, fleeting experience. Like, people come to me and I want to empower them with freedom for the rest of their life. I want them to walk away from this never questioning what they're supposed to eat ever again, or how they're supposed to customize things for themselves. And that doesn't mean that they wouldn't tremendously benefit from sessions ongoing with me, but that's my ultimate goal, is to give people a sense of freedom. So our meetings are really powerful. I almost always recommend people also sign up for our online community, SuperHumans United. It's just a great place of support, recipes, courses, like everything that we put out throughout the years in there. And my clients usually get a discount for that. So anyway, we were sitting here in tears talking about, like, I want to finish with this. Okay. I forgot about this. So we're in tears, tearing up as we're talking about, me and this couple, about, like, how tragic it is that most people that are suffering, it's not their fault. They've just been given the wrong information for their entire life, and they're trying to do the right thing. And the right thing is the wrong thing. And like I said, what we're meant to eat and how we're meant to eat is very different from what we're told. And we should be able to have this class action lawsuit against something or somebody. Like, it's hard to say the government. Like, what the heck is the government? I mean, there's so many people that come in and out of that system, and all the different organizations, and but it's like this advice that has been perpetuated and created by government organizations, institutions, combined with food industry and people trying to make money, and just, however you want to pick that apart, however that information has gotten out to the general public, it's the wrong information. And you think about it, I know, we all know people that are suffering right now. And when I say suffering, I mean suffering, like in, a lot of us want better body composition. We have some little digestive issues, but I'm talking about some major suffering, like some extremely painful suffering that we have all witnessed and been a part of and supported people in. Maybe you're going through it right now. And we all have seen and witnessed and been a part of, and have people that we care about suffer torturous deaths at the hands of this misinformation. Treatments that are torturous and painful at the hands of this misinformation. When the truth is so powerful and elegant and simple and so contrary to what most of us have been told most of our lives, which completely makes sense, because what we've been told is not working. Everyone is having a hard time. I feel like sometimes I'm in this little bubble and I see this grassroots movement of real food methodologies bubbling up. Keto's really popular, low carb's really popular, paleo's really popular, real food in general is really popular, vegan's really popular, carnivore's super popular. But outside of that, there are just as many, if not more, people that are suffering than ever before because of this misinformation. And it is a travesty. It really is. It is a travesty. And that's what we're here doing. We're trying to take back people's health and people's lives and give them their lives back, through this whole process. So anyway, I hope that's useful. Thought I'd share insights from that little visit and also go through my little private practice process. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or feedback. I care. I'm living a life of service. I'm here to help. All right. Talk to y'all later.